but I'm talking about these at once.
All right.
Yeah.
I can edit that out.
Welcome to another installment of Into the West Comics New Comic Book Day edition. Sonny is here with us at the table.
I'm so excited.
We got a lot of new comic books to go over. And to get over. Night Terrors officially started this week over there. The
Can we
new
talk
comic
about that
book.
a little bit?
And guys, let me know what you're getting into. What did you bring to the table today, there, brother Marcus?
All right, so for me, because I'm not Night Terrors, that's a whole nother.
It scared you.
It's too much. They literally are doing something for every title.
Yeah,
and
correct.
so it's gotten to the point where the stores are like, okay, we're only going to order what people already have on pull for that title, because there's literally every DC title has a Night Terror.
I was telling him, Paul, I wasn't going to buy any of them, and I got 3. I think I got 3 of the titles.
Yeah, I did pick up the.
Well,
the
Batman
Alpha
is.
and
If it's Batman's part of your pull, you got the Batman, right?
Yeah,
I know
everything
Paul
I
did.
got is just on my pull.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
What'd you get?
with that, I thought I'd shake it up a little bit and be a little more different. So first pick for this week was probably one that actually surprised me a lot. Doctor Strange continues to surprise. Jed McKay. This is
cool cover.
Yeah, this is issue 4, and it's actually heavily featuring Wong. So actually, Doctor Strange hardly is in it. Actually, it's mostly Wong, and you're following. I forget the acronym, but it's basically a mystical section of Shield that was disbanded.
Is it Wand?
Yes, and he's part of it. He's the leader, and he's probably like one.
Yes.
Yeah. The girl and Wong, they're pretty much the co-captains of that ship, and it's very good because it actually taps a little bit into the origin of Wong himself.
that's good.
And he's actually his father and his grandfather are actually. I guess it's a family business, so to speak, to be one of the main valets or assistants to a Sorcerer Supreme, because his father was also someone who tended to his Sorcerer Supreme and before. And
Interesting.
one of the things that he's dealing with is sort of emotionally dealing with the fact that his Sorcerer Supreme, which was Doctor Strange, died under his watch, and that's kind of bothering him because that his father told him, which his grandfather told him, that's like the worst thing.
That can't happen.
Yeah, that's like you being a parent and your child dying before you, that kind of thing.
Right.
So that was pretty interesting, to see a little more insight into Wong's upbringing and whatnot.
Got some Ghost Rider in here. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a solid read. Doctor Strange isn't for everyone. He tends to be, because he's such an OP character, he can tend to be not interesting depending on who's writing him. And Jed McKay so far has been doing great, so I'm very impressed with that.
Nice.
Second one is Peacemaker Tries Hard, book 2. I'm sorry. This
a cool cover,
this comic
too.
is hilarious.
gun is
There's
crazy.
stuff I can't show in here, but it's hilarious. some of the crap in here is so funny. And adult language. If you like the Peacemaker show, again, I'll say it again. If you like the Peacemaker show, you'll like the comic. It is great. Absolutely wonderful. Issue 2 is basically Peacemaker continuing on his mission that he was given to steal some DNA from Deathstroke. Not to kill him, but to steal some of his DNA. And it turns out the DNA is actually stored in a vault somewhere. Somebody has already done this and stored it in a vault. And so now he's breaking into the vault. And some of the wisecracks and some of the one-liners in here are just phenomenal. So Peacemaker Tries Hard.
It's a really cool cover.
Book 3 is coming right after. So pretty soon here. So check that out. And then finally,
This one looks dope.
this is another installment of the Grand Design series. This one actually, I believe, came just before the Hulk Grand Design one by Tim Scoliosi.
Scoliosis hurt.
Copy that.
Timothy Scully heard.
Phenomenal. Again, it continues with the tradition that Ed Piskor started with X-Men Grand Design. We ended up having, and it's essentially, if you're not familiar with the series, it's a 2-issue oversized series where they basically compress down the history of that character or that family of characters. It started with X-Men, and Ed Piskor did a great job with the art and everything, and he told the history of the X-Men from the early origin all the way up to, I want to say, past Dark Phoenix, I believe.
Oh, wow.
If I remember correctly. It became a giant-size treasury edition like this. 3 of them were collected in this size, as well as an omnibus, which had extras and pencils and things like that. And the cool thing about these also is there's an index in the back that tells you panel by panel, like citations as to what actually went on in real life, what happened. So if something got retconned, or if something was taken out, or this happened because this editor said this was stupid, let's take it out, it actually cites all that stuff. So it's kind of like a real life bibliography, but it's pretty funny.
Dope.
That one is probably the densest one. There's a bookmark in there because I hadn't even finished it. I was trying to finish
Of
it
the
this
series,
week.
you mean, of those Grand Design books? It's the densest of those.
I would say of the ones that I've read, because literally there's like 15 plus panels in some of them, because they're so, it's the rigid traditional paneling, but there's so much packed into that art.
Yeah, there is.
And there's great, great. I posted it on my stories. There's some great like one-liners, and it's written in with sort of modern humor. And so, like, for example, I think it was in X-Men Grand Design, there was a monster or something coming at Wolverine, and Wolverine's like, "Oh snap!"
Oh, snap.
No one said that in the 60s or 70s or whenever, So it was kind of funny
Far
to see. Yeah. It was kind of fun to see that. Yeah, it was kind of fun to see that. And then like Neymar's in here.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Neymar?
Yeah, Neymar.
The soccer player.
Oh, that's right.
Neymar? What?
Namor.
Yeah. Namor.
Neymar.
All of a sudden he's Spanish now.
Shout out
Thanks to that
Brazilian
movie.
soccer.
But yeah, so those are my 3 picks. I've been trying to get some more trades into circulation here, because there's some that are coming out that no one's really talking about. So I'll probably throw some more trades at us
Nice.
as we go.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
What you got?
So I'm going to talk about, there's 2 comics that I probably talk about every time the new issue comes out every month, and that's just because they're that good, and I'm going to continue to talk about it until something changes. Starting with World's Finest by Mark Waid, Dan Mora, and Tamara Bonvillain. It's might be one of my favorite comics of all time. It's just so much fun to read. It's the story going on right now is there's AI taking over the world. AI robots, more similar to Terminator than what people think is going on in the real world now. So if you're like, oh, that sounds super topical, it's not really. It's just robots being controlled and they're attacking the planet, and it's like, why? What's happening? New Amazo is super dope. He can not only like replicate elements and stuff, he can replicate powers, and the whole Justice League is coming together and such to put a stop to it. Batman has a plan,
Of course.
and
Always.
it looks like it might be getting thwarted at the end of this episode, and that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like a little like cartoon, like
Nice.
Sunday morning cartoon show. But it's the art from Dan Mora is, I mean, we've talked it to death, but it's unbelievable. And Mark Waid knows how to write. Every single one of the arcs in this World's Finest, it's at 16 right now, have been just a lot of fun to read, easy to read. The characters feel like themselves, and they feel like they like each other, and they are sometimes in these team books, like one character will get incapacitated and not be able to do anything because then he would just solve the problem, and that's not really what's been happening in this book. And I really, really enjoy it, and just the reasoning for everything of what's going on is really good. Go read this book. Start with number 1. It's honestly, you can find it somewhere, I'm
They've
sure.
got a collected editions, I think, for it.
For probably
Yeah.
the Devil
first
Meza,
trade
the
and
first trade. Yeah, go read that. But it's just super dope, and I am excited every time I get the book. There's not a lot of comics I'm excited to read every week or every month. This is one of them, and this is another one of them. We tried to post a little short video the other week when we had the guest on. It ended up not working out. The video quality just wasn't great. But we have Nightwing number 105. Tom Taylor and Bruno F. Redondo returns for the much hyped up point of view issue, where every single panel in this issue you see is from the eyes of Nightwing.
So cool.
And just the way they like tell this story is so dope. I'm actually gonna show one of the bigger spreads in the comic because it's just so dope the way they do everything.
You literally forget that it's first person point of
Like-
view until you see the reflections of where you're, then you're like, wow, that's the genius of
And
Bruno
they do it
Robertano.
multiple times throughout the issue.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
really, it's
exactly.
really cool.
There's a part I was telling Sunny when we were coming in. There's a part where they're fighting and Nightwing is kicking a dude in the head, and you can see the reflection of Nightwing kicking him in this dude's sunglasses, and it's just a lot of fun, different arts,
that's super cool.
like from what you usually see in comics from his perspective. And the story is also pretty cool too. It's going to lead into the rest of the arc or whatever, which is on hold for Night Terrors, which I'll get to in a second. But this is one of my favorite single issues of all time, up there with the double date issue from Tom King's Batman, where Superman and Lois, or Clark and Lois, go on a date with Bruce and Selina. This is up there with that for one of my favorite single issues of all time. And then last but not least, I'm going to show these as the same one. Night Terror's First Blood and Night Terror's Batman. So, as Marcus mentioned earlier, the Night Terrors event in DC has started. It's a 2-month-long event. Pretty much all the main stories and all the main runs are being put on hiatus for a month or two. Some of the books' writers are changing for the next month or two. Like Batman is Zdarsky, but Williamson is writing the Night Terrors part. Philip Kennedy Johnson is still on Action Comics. There's Lee Williams is writing it with him for the next 2 months. But these events can be really annoying or they can be pretty cool. And honestly, this one has started off pretty cool. I'm engaged. The Batman issue kind of reads like a number 2 to the First Blood issue. Like it picks up right where the first one left off and tells Batman's kind of part of the story. And there's going to be 2 Batman issues, I believe.
Yes.
And it's just really cool. There's a new villain named Insomnia who's looking for the Nightmare Stone to take over people's dreams and turn the world into a nightmare. And Deadman is the main character in it.
Sick, I like him.
And it's just really cool. And Howard Porter is the artist on the main run. And I know that Marcus doesn't love Howard Porter's art.
Not as much.
And I noticed that I haven't really read Howard Porter's stuff outside of like the JLA from Grant Morrison. His art from then to now has changed so much. It looks completely different from what it looks like in Morrison's JLA, which is one of my favorite comics of all time. But I think his newer style, which is almost a little kind of like...
A little sketchier?
It's almost a little like... dreamscape-y kind of, and it fits this story very well.
That's cool.
I was pleasantly surprised by the first issue. Like Marcus mentioned, it's taking over every single main run issues. I am only getting what's on pull, with the exception of Green Lantern and Flash. I added those 2 just because why not? But everything else, Shazam has one that's on my pull. I'll be getting that. Batman, Superman, Action Comics, Detective, they're all getting one, but that's all my normal pull anyways. So I'm not like getting extra stuff. So it doesn't feel like extra on top of everything. And then I'm getting the main line story, which is only 4 issues, I think.
Right. So it's 4 issues, and then each
It's
title,
2 this month, 2 in August.
Yeah, and each person, each character, each title has 2 issues.
Yes, correct.
It's a lot
It's
of
a lot.
tie-ins.
That's a lot.
It's King in Black levels.
Yeah.
Of tie-ins,
I
almost.
was just going to say that.
Because the King in Black went 5 months is the only difference.
Yeah.
And that had a
And
lot
that is
more.
why I'm not as annoyed with this.
Right. Howard Porter tends to. Well, I mean, I liked his. I think he did Bane, the One Bad Day Bane story.
Yep.
That one was pretty good.
Have you
but
read
his
the,
Deathstroke? It was the one where I was kind of like.
Have you read the One Bad Day? You read most of those,
I
didn't you?
read them all.
Yeah.
Have you read the any of Morrison's Justice League of America?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I I think his art has changed like a ton since then. Like it's almost, if you didn't tell me that it was Porter, I would not realize that it was Porter.
Right.
I think I like his old style more.
Yes.
But I think that this style fits this particular book more.
Yeah, more abstract, more sketchier artwork tends to work, I think, with horror stuff.
One of the things that we're getting out of this whole thing is that I get my Dustin Nguyen variants for all of these.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
pretty.
this is my Night Terrors. Let's see, the Ravager #1, Rose Wilson. She's actually having a nightmare in this story, and she's trying to save a younger version of herself. And her and the younger version of herself are being chased by the Murder Man and she recognizes him from something, but she can't quite figure it out yet. So it was a really cool start to that story. I've enjoyed it. It's Ed Brisson.
Ed Brisson's cool.
Solid. And then the other thing I picked up this week, amongst the other like 15 or 20 books I got, was a Steelworks.
Ooh,
it's written by Michael Dorn. Cool. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the name Michael Dorn, if you ever watch Star Trek Next Generation, that is the actor that plays Worf.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And has done like different cartoon voices over the years and stuff like that. He's pretty well known, but this is like his first venture into comic book writing, and I've got to say,
he's doing amazing.
He's done a really good job.
Yes. That's good to know.
He brings a lot of life to this super family, and John Henry Irons in particular. I thought he's done a really good job for his first attempt. I mean, most of the Dawn of the DCU stuff, Sonny, has been incredible because everything is like, Marcus and I have talked about this. It's like pilot season.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of condensed into like a 6-episode or 6-issue sort of trial.
Right.
And then we get to see what's going to be successful and what's not. And then that stuff can kind of be optioned into some type of ongoing thing. You know, going back to what Paul was saying about World's Finest. World's Finest Teen Titans is going to be starting next month. It's going to be a 6-issue deal. It isn't in the main continuity of DC. It's going to be more of like the original team.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that, for the artwork and for the fact that Mark Waid is going to be writing it. It's only going to be a 6-issue series to start. Don't worry, I went hard in the paint for you guys. I'll have some stuff to do to get you guys all copies. Also, I'm going to have some stuff to give away for guys once. It's probably like 2 weeks out, I think, when it comes out. But we'll have some giveaways for that as well. Nice. Guys, we want to know what you're reading and what you've been checking out. Yeah, when you go to your LCS, what have you been picking up? Are you going to be investing in this whole Night Terrors thing? Or are you checking out anything right now? There's a lot of stuff going on with X-Men and, you know, multiple storylines. You mentioned Doctor Strange. Jed McKay has also started off a whole new run with the Avengers, and that's been a really good start so far.
Yes.
It's kind of got Paul interested in Marvel. Almost got him interested in Marvel. So there's a lot of stuff to check out. Let us know in the comments what you're checking out down at your LCS.
That's not Marvel, but it's not DC.
Let us know what you're checking out and tell us what you're reading. We're not saying that our picks are the right picks. We're just telling you this is what we've been reading and what we've been checking out. So we'll talk to you guys next week. Go read some comic books. Make a trip down to your LCS. Please go support your LCS. Pick up some comics. And, you know, be nice to somebody. We'll talk to you guys next week. We love you.
Take care, guys.
Just not Shane.
Yeah.